All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. So, this video, we are going to zip through basically like 9 amendments today. The first uh, five, yeah, I mean, we had talked about a lot of stuff, but in retrospect, I should have done more because, again, the end of the school year is coming up, and I really want to get through these amendments with you guys. So um, we're gonna zip through this. This video is going to be pretty long. The next one is going to be pretty long as well. Um, but like I said, in retrospect, I should have, looking back now, I should have just put more amendments to it, made the videos just a little bit longer so that the last two videos will not be as long. But I messed up. I'm sorry. Okay. So let's get on with this. So here is your warm-up picture. As you see from the political cartoon, um, we're going to talk about the speedy trials. Okay. So make sure you do the warm-up, answer the questions, and let's get started with the amendments. All right. So I moved the video because I wanted you guys to see the picture. I thought it was funny, a little fun joke with thing. But the Amendment 6 says, in criminal cases prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy trial and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously asserted by law, and to be informed of the nature and causes of accusation, to be confronted with the witness against them, to have a compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have an assistant counsel for his defense. So, in a nutshell, a speedy trial. That does not mean like you get booked, they give you a trial right there and then boom, that's it. No, because the thing is, um, speedy trial means not like how it was before. Because back in the day, kings and queens and all these guys, they would arrest people and then hold them in jail for the longest time. Sometimes they would hold them there on purpose, not just to make sure that the person who was in jail, um, suffered, but also to kind of make people forget, the witnesses forget what they saw, you know, and that way they could be like, well, I think I saw them instead of, oh, I'm sure, I know I saw them. They did not do this, and now they go, well, I don't think I didn't see him, or I think I saw him here. I'm not quite sure anymore because again, time goes, we're human, memory fades. Um, Also, this is another thing with this amendment. It says that you get an impartial jury. These people should not know you, should not have any affiliation with the case, not know the district attorneys, the lawyers, things like that. You or the prosecuting jury or lawyer and all this stuff. They shouldn't know them. They should just be. They should not have like a not really care, but like oh, my mom's cousin, that's them right there. That's like my second Thea. You know, no, no, none of that. You know, Another thing with this is that when you commit a crime, you have the trial in your state. Okay. Um, Thing is too, they some people say, oh, why can't they be in the town that where you committed the crime? It usually is, but sometimes when they're trying to get a jury, that person is either loved or hated in that area, so they can't get an impartial jury. So the lawyers will ask for a change of venue, you know, um, and a lot of times they get it because they don't want you getting away with the crime, but they also don't want you, um, like where everyone hates you, so you won't have an impartial jury because that goes against your Sixth Amendment right. Um, you get to see the witnesses, who's saying this stuff against you, who's saying you did things, stuff like that. You get to see them. Your lawyer gets to cross-examine them and stuff like that. Okay, and you get a lawyer if you can't afford one. Okay, that's what this amendment means. All right, so Amendment 7. In suits at common law where the value of controversy shall exceed $20, the right of a trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise remanded in the court of the United States than according to the rules in common law. What does this mean? In other words, in a civil case, a trial by jury can't be taken away, uh, especially if the thing, whatever it may be, is stolen or whatever, it's above $20, and yeah, there you go. Um, there should be another trial after the jury had made its decision. But this is where the appeals come in, because new evidence has been found. The somebody finds out that the juror was not impartial, that they were biased, so something like this, like Michael Vick with the jury of dogs. If you don't know about the thing with Michael Vick, look that up. But yeah, so that's like a way you can get an appeal, you know, because of what happened with him. So there's that. Amendment 8. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposing, nor cruel and unusual punishment. In a nutshell, it's saying that your bail can't be uh, outrageous. It should be equivalent to the crime you did. So if let's say you jaywalked, you crossed the middle of the road, and if the cops really wanted to get you, they can, because that's jaywalking. You're supposed to use the designated area, at the stop signs and stuff like that to cross. The bail should not be $6 million for jaywalking. Should be nowhere near that. You know, um, should be really like a fine. That's about it. But the thing is, like, if you say somebody murdered a whole group of people, um, that's where the bail maybe, like, no, there's no bail, because that's a serious crime, because that's somebody who kills a bunch of people. Yeah, that's not a safety for the people. But somebody jaywalking, whoop whoop, they're probably fine. Hey, you did wrong. Here's your slap on the hand, with the bail. So you can have your time in court. But again, you get bail, you can get out. Cruel and unusual punishment. Again, you cannot be tortured. Again, if you jaywalk and they lock you up, they should not be pulling your fingernails, torturing you to make you confess, things like that. Or if you are in jail for whatever reason, that they, string you by your toes and beat you with hammers and stuff like that. No, no, that's excessive. That's torture. You know, they no, they can't do that. And like I said, believe it or not, this stuff did happen back in the day. Especially this part with the Inquisition. So if you want to look that up, go for it. Okay, so now the Ninth and 10th Amendment, I call them the TARP Amendment, because like a tarp, it covers. And that's what these last two amendments to the Bill of Rights do. They cover basically everything else that they kind of like forgot to put in there. The Ninth Amendment, the enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage other restrained by the people. What does that mean? In a nutshell, the rights not mentioned in the Constitution belong to the people, not the federal government. So, in other words, like, just because we didn't think about it back in 1780 sums, doesn't mean that you don't have that right. All right. Because again, like I said, these guys are smart, but they knew they weren't fortune tellers. They didn't know anything about, you know, cell phones. They had no idea about even phones. Letters were the way to send messages, and the quickest way was on, horseback and stuff like that to send messages, letters. Phones were not even thought of, not even imagined. So of course they're not going to mention phones in the Constitution. So that's why they left something like this. So things that they wouldn't know, or if times changed, the people could change it. The people could not be denied the right for whatever it may be. Okay. Um, the 10th Amendment. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are preserved to the states respectfully or to the people. Again, any powers not specifically mentioned in the Constitution go to the states as well, or the people, not the federal government. Okay? They can't deny you something just because it's not in the Constitution, or it's not in the Constitution. Well, it's but it also says you can't deny me this. You know, again, these guys were very smart, but they're not fortune tellers. They cannot predict things in the future, with much accuracy. Okay. So again, those are the TARP amendments. And look at your question. Why do you think the framers of the Constitution added the TARP amendments? So if you were listening, you would know this question. Also, tell me your perspective. Why is it important? And I got put on there, if you don't know what I mean by TARP amendments, you should go back and listen to this video. Because again, I know some of you guys don't listen to it. Now you gotta for this question. And it's going to be pretty easy to tell who actually listened to it and who didn't. All right. So again, the writing prompt, I believe the framers of the Constitution added the TARP amendments because explain. Okay. So the next two are, well, the 11th one is not that bad. It says the 11th Amendment, which is on top, those 3 sentences. The judicial power of the United States shall not be construed or extended to any suit in law or equality commenced or prosecuted against one of the United States by citizens of another state or citizens or subjects of a foreign state. What that means in plain English is, let's say people from California, they can't sue the state of Nevada, Arizona, New York. They can't do that. Okay, you can sue the state you live in. Let's say something happened, with the state of California. They did something. You can sue them because you live in that state. It affected you as a citizen of that state. But if you went to another state and something happened, you cannot sue them. Okay, because what they were doing, that happened in their state. You went there. Right? Same thing if foreigners try to come over, things to visit, stuff like that. And they, like, I don't know, something happens, they hurt themselves or whatever. They can't say, I'm going to sue the state of California under our Constitution. No, you can't. Okay, that's the 11th Amendment. The 12th, in a nutshell, is basically saying that how the voting is going to be. Basically who's going to be vice president, president, how it's going to work, things like that. Um, that's what all of this means in like different subsection parts of it. Like it says right here, the person having the greatest number of votes as vice president shall be vice president. The problem with this was that when they did back in the day when they did the elections, they would just have a list of people and they would say, vote for your top two, and the people would vote, 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 vote. Sometimes the president and the vice president did not get along. Okay, they did not get along. So what happened was sometimes when the president tried to do something, the vice president, who's in charge of the Senate, would no, we're going to fight this tooth and nail. So the president could not get things done through Congress because the vice president would stop him. So the president and the vice president have to be in sync with one another, have the same ideas and things like that and beliefs. Okay, so the next 3 amendments, these came to basically help African Americans in the United States. Now, this first one, this was before the end of the Civil War, the 13th Amendment. Now, if you've ever seen the movie Lincoln, phenomenal job on explaining how this amendment here, the one you see in this picture, how it got passed. And guys, it's incredible. I mean, it was to the point where nobody knew that day for sure it was going to pass. All right. 13th Amendment, Section 1 says neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crimes whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Section 2, Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. In other words, slavery is done not only in the United States, but its territories. Okay? Slavery is gone. This amendment is the one Lincoln was just so wanting, so bad. And he did something that you're not really supposed to do, but he did anyway. So if you look at this document, like I said, I try to show you guys the real things. So if you look, it says Speaker of the House of Representatives. It says Koufax. It says Vice President and President of the Senate. There's his signature. And right below the last thing, it says approves February 1st, 1865, Abraham Lincoln. The president usually doesn't sign this paper. All right, this particular one in the books. They get one later on and things like that, but not in the book. And he did. He had to sign it the very next day because again he wanted this done, sealed, boom, that's it. Um, so yeah. Now, like I said, the next one is to help out African Americans, but it does have a ripple effect to help everybody. Next one is the 14th Amendment. In the first section, says in a nutshell that if you're born in this country, you are a citizen of this country, not just in the states, but its territories. So places like Puerto Rico, we own that. That's our territory. It's not a state, but still, those people who live there are a citizen. And this is where I love this political cartoon right here, because you got people who saying don't mess with the Constitution, don't trend on my rights, things like that. But at the same time, they're saying, oh no, if your parents are from this country and you're born here, you shouldn't be a citizen. No, under the 14th Amendment, you're born in this country, you are a citizen of this country. Doesn't matter where your parents came from. It's where were you born? You were born in a hospital. You were born in this house on U.S. territory. You're a citizen, plain and simple. Okay. Um, Section 2, it talks about the representation of the states, uh, and this gets rid of the 3/5 clause. So if you remember in the Constitution, how it said that slaves counted as 3/5 of a person. For every 5 white people, it equaled 3 black people. This amendment tosses that aside, gets rid of it completely. So that is no longer um, applied, the 3/5 clause, because of this Constitution. Section 3 says that any person who's a senator, member of the House of Representatives, if you were part of the Confederacy, during the Civil War, remember we had the Union and the Confederacy. The Confederacy wanted to keep slavery and they broke off from the United States. Section 3 says if you are a senator or a representative member in Congress, you can no longer be, a senator, a congressman, a president, vice president. You can't be in the military. You can't be having any part of the government, because you turned your back on us. Section 4, basically any debts owed. Let's say the South borrowed money from a state and the state was a union. Let's say Georgia borrowed money from New York. Let's just say, and the war's over. Now Georgia's like, It's like, hey, or let's say New York borrowed money from them. Georgia can't say, well, hey, you owe us money. No, that was when you were the Confederacy. Now you're no longer Confederacy, so I don't owe you money. Okay. The 15th Amendment states this, Section 1. The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. Section 2. The Congress shall have the power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. So, Section 1, your right to vote can't be denied because you are African American, you're Latin, you're Chinese, you're Asian American, you're white American, you're whatever American, you're American. Your legal age, um, you depends on your prison sentence if you've been in prison or not, and if you're registered. No one can deny you the right to vote. Some states, especially in the South, after this, tried to stop African Americans from voting. They had things like poll taxes. They had literacy, tests. Poll tax that you had to pay to vote. Well, the thing is, some white people you know, who wanted to vote, they couldn't vote. And the state was like, well, we'll let these white people go, but not the black people. They can't. They have to pay. Well, that shows racism. You know, so then they did like literacy tests. Oh, well, if you can't read, then how can you vote? Well, again, there were some white people in the South who couldn't read either. So the states were like, well, how can we stop African Americans from voting? And this is where the threat comes in with the Ku Klux Klan and stuff like that. And if you're interested in that, or if you weren't in my U.S. history class for that, there's a video on that. Just look through my videos, look for the Civil War, Reconstruction era, and yeah, I have a whole thing on that. How they African Americans were intimidated um, from voting for basically almost like 100 years. Some places there were people just outside the voting area, and they wouldn't allow African Americans to vote, not even register. Okay. Now the thing is, I put that thing about prison because this is important. Um, most states say that if you are at least in jail, you cannot vote. There's only two states that say even if you are in jail, you can vote, which is Maine and Vermont. They let everybody vote. Okay. But it depends on the state where you live in. And that depends on your right to vote. Okay. Um, and they differ from everything, whether, like, if you're on parole, that's a factor. Um, did you commit just a misdemeanor or was it a felony? Some of that. Um, did you serve your whole time? Yeah, that's another thing. Some states say that, hey, yeah, you may be on parole, but you didn't serve your whole time. So until you've gone your whole time, that's include parole, you can't vote. If you appeal, some places that you say you're on parole and you're like, I want to vote, they say no, but you can appeal. Some states allow that. Um, and some have just total, complete disenfranchisement, which means enfranchisement means the right to vote. Same thing with suffrage. Um, so if you live in a state where there's complete disenfranchisement, that means you can't vote at all if you've committed a crime. Now, which crime level that is, I don't know specifically because, again, each state is different. Okay, so if you want to look that up, by all means, look it up on I believe, like the ACLU website may have some information on that. Um, it's quite interesting, to be honest. But again, I didn't want to make this video too long because, you know, we got other stuff. Other stuff like your questions. Yay! All right. So, first question, actually the last questions I have for you. What do you think should be the minimum legal age to vote? And why did you choose that age? Okay, so think about it. What would be a good age? That's like the bare minimum for somebody to vote. What do you think? So let me know. Put that age and tell me why that age. Is it maturity level? Is it they've seen more, they experience more, they have a firmer grasp with the law, what's going on? Um, what do you think? Is it just, hey, you know what? At this age, everyone should, tell me. Okay. The second question is, how do you feel about people voting rights who have committed a crime? All right. Should they be allowed to vote? Should it depend on the crime they committed? Tell me, what do you think? What's your viewpoint on that about people's rights to vote and if they committed a crime? So let me know. Okay. Think about it. Sit down, think about it. What is your personal view? Okay. Now, again, I tell you this not only to, you know, get you to critically think, but also put yourselves in the situation. How do you feel about your right to vote? You have the ability to say so in things that matter in this government. So think about that. Okay. Um, so with that, this video is over. It's a little bit longer than I anticipated, but still, you know. So next video, we're going to finish it up the amendments. It's going to be quite a bit. So we can do this. Okay. Believe in you guys. All right. So again, take care, be safe, guys. Take care of yourselves, your family. Um, Miss you guys, and see you later.